Hello, how are you doing? Are we live? My machine's telling me that I've been unmuted. So if there's anyone there, can you hear me? Can you hear me, mother? Here I am. I look as if I've got something going on. So I'll just wait until anyone else gets in. So perhaps there is somebody there, and it'd be lovely to actually hear from you. Maybe just type in, Keith, how are you doing? You're looking well, I have to say. You must have had a good Christmas. Yeah, how are you doing? I hope you did have a lovely Christmas. I did myself. It's all sort of ancient history now, isn't it? All the presents are open, and piled in the corner. Christmas trees shedding its needles. Hello, the second person who's in. Who might that be? It's good to have you anyway. So here I am in my studio. You can see, if I just lean back this way, you can see my stove is going. Well, that'll probably be out by the time that I finish this. And you can see the painting of the day here. That's one that you probably saw a picture of last week, but it was up in the house. I just got it back from a gallery the other day, and that one's called Windows at Portobello. Great. Okay, good. I'm glad you had a lovely Christmas. And so, yes, just you and me at the moment, Keith. So, look, I mean, I reckon this will probably take about half an hour. What I'm going to do is just review 2023 in art, if you see what I mean. Stuff that I've done, art that I've seen, places that I went, to see art. And then I'll probably finish up with just showing you a couple more sketches out of the sketchbook. And what was I going to say? How was I going to sort of approach this? Okay, as usual, completely unscripted. So I'm still learning how this software works. Yeah, like in this year, like family-wise, it was kind of an odd year because it seemed to go so fast. Maybe that's just something that happens the older you get. Somebody said to me once, it feels like I'm having my breakfast every 20 minutes. So and in this year, I've three children, all daughters, and two of them left home this year. So they're both in their 20s. Well, the two older ones are in their 20s. And they both left home. One went to Germany. The other one went to the UK. And the one in Germany came back. So we have her still, but she's going to sort of head off somewhere else. She won't be able to stick it for too much longer, I suppose, living with us. The oldest one has gone back to the UK. She went back last night. So it's strange, the house is emptying. I've still got one going through just the end of second level. I take it she'll be with us while she goes to university or something. But this is what happens in life, isn't it? So and also all that business about COVID, and I was still kind of recovering from COVID, not the actual ailment, the effects of it, not going anywhere for a few years. I kind of got into a pattern of just not wanting to go anywhere, and that's how these videos started, because I had to do something, and I was holding classes from this studio in this environment that you can see by computer, and it's sort of it's an odd thing to do, like talking to people as I'm doing now, and not actually being in front of them and looking at a Logitech webcam instead of somebody's face, so but I mean, it just took me a while to get back into going. So we kind of broke my duck, I suppose, of traveling this year, and I went to London first of all, and then I went to Birmingham, and then we went to Bruges and Lille, and what's the other place? Bruges was Ghent. And then we went to Portugal, and so I've kind of done quite a bit of traveling this year, and I want to show you some of the art that I saw on the way, because I thought it was wonderful, actually, things that I hadn't seen before. So if I just go up to here and hit, oh God, not that one. Wasn't that one at all. What was it? It's this. If you just bear with me for a second. Screen. I understand. That one. Share. Okay. Can you see that? Would you let me know, Keith, if you can see that? This is good, sort of. Oh, we have three. Oh my God, we're mimicking each other. It's like a quantum experiment, isn't it? Your youngest is 41. Yeah. Okay, I'm copying you then. Okay, so yeah. Can you see that? I can see something down there. It's actually difficult to actually see anything there. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to go through this. This is it's a Google album. Let me see that. Yeah. Okay. So this is just like to start the year, because we do Airbnb. You know, so we got a room that we let out. It's become a bit sort of more available to us since one of the daughters has gone. So we actually let out the part of the house, and we just couched it in terms of it being an artist's house and everything. So, and when I looked around, I actually didn't see very much apart from paintings hanging in frames on the wall, which you'd expect in any house, really. I thought there wasn't enough art around, so I've decided to start sort of upping the art sort of thing a little bit. So you can see up there in the top, in that sort of arch, or what do you call it, the vaulted part of the ceiling. Our kitchen's sort of slightly vaulted. It's a trompe-l'oeil painting that I did, as if there's a view onto the outside. So cutting out those bloody that kind of what would you call it, treffler sort of shape. It was harder than I thought. I actually cut it out onto a bit of plywood on a thin MDF, 3mm MDF, and painted the thing on that, because rather than painting it directly onto the plaster, because I thought that, well, if I go wrong, at least I can sort of take it down and actually have a go again. So it's actually acrylics on this particle board, as the Americans say. So that's our kitchen with the jungle around. So that's how I started the year. So that was done pretty early on in the year, and the year also started. It was the end of last year, actually. Sort of, I got a commission to do, and the commission was I thought it was one of my favorite ones, because it was about a place that, or very similar to where I grew up. It's a guy who used to come to my art classes here in the studio, and he's from Bethnal Green, and so he grew up around Petticoat Lane and all that kind of stuff, all the places. So his wife, his Irish wife, wanted me to sort of feature this place in. It wasn't actually Petticoat Lane. What was it? Can't remember. Anyway, but so I researched the place, because it was very much like the area that I grew up, but I grew up in West London. But it was similarly sort of grotty, I suppose, and I just wanted to. And he's exactly the same age as me. This is the other thing. So we grew up at the same age, and kind of into the same kind of music, sort of kind of like punk era type stuff. I was a little bit young for punk, but I kind of used to enjoy the music and everything, and that kind of aesthetic that was going around in the time. And she wanted his. He's got a Harley Davidson, so he's kind of he's been successful in business. I, who have not been successful in business, have a Vespa 125, don't I? So an awful lot cheaper to run. So there's his Harley Davidson, which is actually a modern Harley Davidson, but it doesn't matter. It's art. You can sort of go back and forth in time if you want. And he has a kind of he had the kind of, in his personal style, he kind of reminded me of the Stranglers. His look and everything, that kind of lean, sort of almost feral look that the Stranglers used to sort of to show to people, to the audience. So it was great to do a picture of a London street scene, and I researched it. I kind of got the got lots of pictures. I found black and white pictures of London at the time. You can't really see the posters. They're actually not done at the stage that you can see this painting at the moment, because it's about sort of 2/3 of the way in. So you can see the references sitting on the desk below. You can see that Harley, which is like the same as his Harley, I suppose. You can see some more references off to the right, and there's the thing finished. I wonder, can I sort of go in on this? Yeah, I can here. Look, great. It's probably not the most sharpest of photographs, but you see, the other thing is, I'm wondering, can you see the actual cursor as it moves around, or can you just see the scene? The Chrome tab that I'm using at the moment. Anyway, let's have a look. So there's his Harley with his cat sitting on the seat there, because his cat had died that year. So you can see all the posters on the grottily put up posters. And I remember from my sort of youth in London at the time, there was an awful lot of graffiti around at the time about what was his name? Wasn't it David Gilmour? Dave something is innocent, isn't it? Don't know whether you can remember, Keith. And there was also another piece of graffiti. You can see it on the just above the cat there. 5% is shit, and that was written on a railway bridge near where I lived. And for years I used to go past this piece of graffiti in the 70s, thinking, what the hell is that all about? I couldn't figure out what it was. Because I wasn't working, I was still at school, so it didn't sort of make any sense to me. But of course, it's about union negotiations and percentage increases in people's pay and conditions. There you can see him coming out of that grotty shop as if it's maybe a kind of a squat or a party going on in there. So there you go. I really enjoyed doing that commission. It was right up my street, no pun intended. I absolutely loved it. I loved sort of the way the light was playing and all the implied light and the shadows. So let's have a look. Yeah, so going up close, you can see the posters behind of Lou Reed, which is a poster from that time. And there are some Stranglers posters there, up there, just to the left of the cat's head. That's Rattus Norvegicus from the album Rattus Norvegicus. Wonder if you remember that. You possibly weren't into that. Maybe if I put some different bands in there. But so here we go. A still life that I put. So still doing the still lives as my daily painting, staple. Producing very small daily paintings, and I think that's how you improve most of all, by doing lots of one of these a day, perhaps. And there you go. That's a finished one there. There's a photograph of my class, because one of my classes in my 6-week block would be to paint clear glass. How to paint clear glass, because people find it's a hurdle that they might have to get over, and they should know how to do it, because it's not as difficult as you think. That's the reasoning behind it. So if I move on there, my little mocha pot, or it's my daughter's mocha pot, and so I painted that. I'm always on the lookout for things. Look, another one painted in 2 colors plus white, that one, and also painted in tempera, the Russian brand of tempera that I got. Very nice. And actually you can see there, that's what I'm looking at the moment. That's where I'm sitting right as I'm talking to you. Oh, the cursor is visible. Oh, brilliant, because that means I can sort of say to you, yes, here you can see all my lights here and all the crap that I usually have sort of around my desk. Some of it's cleared away for tonight's event, but there you go. Using a tear-off palette because I didn't want to get this particular paint into my acrylics palette or my oils palette. Okay, so let's move on. That's the PC that I'm using. It's quite an old PC, but it was a good one in its day, and it's still sort of serviceable, and that's what I'm using right at this moment. So I went to Battersea in when did I go to Battersea? That's a good bloody point. May have been March or April. I went to see my sister in London. So I went around to a few places. In Battersea, we went to the power station to draw with a group of artists. And that's all the work, or some of the work at least. There must have been 60 people there, all sort of descending on this place. It's an amazing edifice now, cavernous, and full of shops and everything. Like, I couldn't believe what they've done with it. These huge, great gallery of a room that used to have the I don't know, the generators in them. A painting that I liked, and I'm sorry that I can't actually tell you who painted that, but that is a painting that's right up my street as well. I'd love to have painted that. I think that's wonderful. I can't sort of see the actual name, can I? I can't see it. It won't be. Oh, Nina Hamnet, a gentleman with a top hat. That's, yeah, there you go. Nina Hamnet, who I have never seen any other paintings of, but it's of its time. Looks like it's maybe the 1920s or something like that. He's wearing spats, isn't he? So let's go back down and move on to the next one. Oh yeah, this was walking, or I walked part of the way home from central London, sort of Westminster, to Hounslow. I had a bicycle with me. I hired one of those electric bikes, and I came past this scene, and I had been there a couple of days previously just to do that drawing event. And I just thought it looked absolutely spectacular. It's wonderful. I'm going to go back this year. It was really vibrant. And then I got on this electric bike, you know, these ones that you can hire for an hour, and I cycled back out to Boston Manor, if there's a place you've ever heard of. And just about a mile from my sister's home, it cut out because it cuts out automatically as soon as you pass a certain point. So I kind of got quite far, and then the thing became really difficult to cycle. I had to wheel it back and then walk the rest of the way. So I learned that the hard way. Then I went to the British Museum because I'm interested in Egyptology, not in a kind of an academic sense. It's just that I find it absolutely fascinating that it goes so far back in time, and according to a lot of people, goes back a lot further than you might imagine. And this stone that's carved out of is I think it's not pyrite, it's diorite, which is one of the hardest stones that you can possibly try to carve. And they're supposed to have done it with copper chisels. Maybe they did. I don't know. History keeps getting older though, doesn't it? So let's go back to that. I love that kind of stuff. And these are what actually drew me to the British Museum. These pots are not made of pottery, they're made of stone. So somehow they carve those out, and they're perfectly even and accurate. And please do not touch. And they're astonishing, and there's loads of them. Now, back to the old paintings. This is Maurice Denis, I suppose, probably Maurice Denis, perhaps. A portrait of Arthur Huc, Paris, 1892. And I've never heard of that artist either. I'm so ignorant, I'm sorry to say. Maurice Denis, I must look more into it. And I went on a bit of a journey, sort of looking at these pieces of art, because I'm inclined to be a bit sort of precise, and I love the way, and I was seeking out art where it isn't precise, and it's almost like flat planes of color. It's gorgeous. I love it. And let me move on, and here we have Paul Gauguin. I think at this stage I'm no longer in London here. I could be. I can't remember this one. That might be in Birmingham, when I went to Birmingham to another museum. Let's have a look at this one. Herman Max Pechstein. Let's see if I can see the... I can't see the actual gallery this one's in, but you know, this, I would never do a still life quite like that. I mean, it's very much of its time, isn't it? But gorgeous and inaccurate. And it's lovely because of that. Let's have a look. Where did I go then? Now, here's an interesting one, because that's the fellow, I think his name is John Wyatt, or John Myatt. He's a forger, and he was caught and he did time for forgery. And he was a single father at the time. He was desperate for money, and he started doing paintings. And he fell in with a real proper crook who started getting him to paint paintings. But he served his time, and he started creating his own brand of original fakes, and that's what he has stamped on the back of them. An original fake by John Myatt, I think is what he writes on the back. So it's actually signed Monet. This is supposed to be like a Monet. To be honest, I don't think it's actually good enough, that one. That's why I photographed it, because it was too bright. And there's not enough life in it somehow. But having said that, a lot of the stuff that he does, you can't tell. And there's a fellow I know in Dublin who has an original fake on his wall, and he said it's an original fake. He knew that it was, and I looked at that one. His one's much bigger than this, and you really couldn't tell. I thought it was a really sort of close fake. So I came back home and started sort of experimenting with painting styles using knives, because using knives was one of the things that I did. But I thought it was something that I should do. So, and even there you can see the fact that I still want to be accurate. I'm still putting in small dabs. Let me just see, because I can't see. Yeah, okay, yeah. I just want to make sure that you're not putting some more chat in. Okay, so so that's one that I did, and that's just of an Irish scene down in the west of Ireland somewhere. And there's a close-up. See if we can get in close to this. Yeah, and it's a glorious way of painting. I absolutely adore it. And to do a large painting with a knife, that'd be something, I think. So this is a place called Glen in County Wicklow, which is about 20 miles from my house, up in the hills, because you can access the hills very easily in Dublin. It's about 15 minutes. You're in this kind of, I mean, they're not mountains in the alpine sense, but you know, you can see what they're like. And so I went there because I had been commissioned to go on. I thought I thought was going to be a television program about Vincent van Gogh, because his birthday was a couple of days away, and they wanted me to come in and paint something, and in the style of Van Gogh, because I had put something on my website about teaching my students. You know, I referenced the fact that day, or some day that we'd actually had the class, that we had tried to explore the way Van Gogh painted. Now, I'm not saying that I'm sort of an expert in painting Van Gogh paintings, but it was there, and some researcher in the national broadcaster here picked it up, and so they got me to go in. So I went down to Wicklow, to Glendalough. It's very ancient, I suppose, you know, maybe from the year 400 or 500 or something like that. And I took some photographs. I've never been so wet in my life. I mean, it absolutely chucked rain for the time that I was there. You can see everyone there has got their umbrellas out and their hoods up. But I'm telling you, it was like the end of the world when I went there. But anyway, I got my reference photographs. And there is myself with the presenter there. His name is Joe Duffy. And he actually knows quite a bit about painting, so he was able to ask pertinent questions as I was painting. And but the thing is, it turned out to be radio. It was the radio centre that I went into, and it seemed to be bizarre. I mean, they did capture it on a kind of an iPhone, and they did produce a little movie that they played on their Twitter feed and everything like that. But it was radio. But it was very interesting all the same, and it kind of took the pressure off me a bit, I have to admit. Because I did that painting that you can see there. If I can go up close to it, it's a I suppose, a reworking of Van Gogh's Starry Night, isn't it? But except with Glendalough in the background, or in the foreground, instead of the scene at Arles, which is where he painted when he was in that asylum. And the other thing I noticed while I was on that show is that on that move they made, that I kind of noticed how much weight I'd put on, and so I embarked on a kind of a bit of a diet after that, which worked actually. And then we went to I think this is Bruges. No, this is Ghent. We went to Ghent. I was actually, I'd never been to. I'd been to Brussels before and Ostend, but I'd never been to Ghent or Bruges, or indeed Lille, which is coming up, which is across the border in France. But I found it was absolutely astonishing, and it must have been astoundingly wealthy in its time. The architecture there is absolutely wonderful. The photographs don't do it justice, but there's plenty of canals and places to visit. Very ancient medieval place. And there's a Bruegel. I kind of like Bruegel for the stories that he tells in his work. I'm not sure which Bruegel it was, or even if that's how you pronounce Bruegel, or Bruegel, or something like that. Bruegel. Anyway, Bruegel. Let's stick with that. Yeah, I like it. There's lots of detail, lots of little stories and vignettes going on in his paintings. Kind of a medieval style. Sorry for going in and out like that. Yeah, it's almost like a Lowry, isn't it? It's got the same sensibility as Lowry, just depicting normal life, which the Italians really didn't do. The Southerners, the Italians, but the Dutch, they were into that, telling ordinary people's stories. Now, this is now the Palais des Beaux-Arts, which is, I think, in Lille, this one. So there's lots of artists that I don't really know, and I can't tell. Can I get up close to that one to see? No, it's a bit blurry. Photographs taken with my phone. It's a pity, but there is a close-up there. And so I was exploring again the mostly I was looking at the Impressionist use of flat planes of color and their brushwork, and trying to make it apply in my own work. And obviously, unless you're a forger, you're not going to sort of be copying people's work entirely. You're just going to do the work that you can with the influences that you find. Okay, and that's my you know, one of the paintings that impressed me. I mean, look at that. Her hands. That is her hand, isn't it? Or she's holding something. Maybe she's holding a knot in that a scarf around her neck. Can't tell. It's so vague. And that odd looking pink, which is not flesh-like. There's her scarf around her head. Look how loose that is. It's glorious. And looking at more modern work, I suppose this would be in the 1920s. Looks like the 1920s. That's really starting to explore. And me looking at it, sort of asking myself, well, why can't I do that? Well, why am I not trying to do that? And to this day, like, I still don't really paint. I haven't even tried to paint like that, and I should. All the shadows the same as the it's just, you know, dark blues. Amazing. Who is that? Can we see? Can we see? Can we see? Nature morte bleue. Le Compotier. I don't know. I can't say. It's a terrible photograph, but let's have a look at this one. Yeah, more of the moderns. Who's that now? It's just called Composition. An artist that I don't think I know anyway. But I like looking at that too. And I used not to like that kind of work. I used to sort of get a bit irritated because I thought, well, they can't paint. But then I started to properly research some of these artists, like Piet Mondrian, you know, with his sort of grids of black lines and colors. Could paint very, very well in a kind of a classic but modern sort of approach to classic way. You could definitely paint. And so I shouldn't have been so quick off the mark to criticize. No, yeah, I love that. Love the brushwork. It's all meant to be viewed from a few feet back, at least. More of it, more of the same painting. Who's that now? Atlan, I don't know, does it? Another one, you just call it composition. I don't know that one. More. Naissance de l'oiseau, the birth of the bird. Yeah, okay. Lovely vibration of the colors against each other. The trouble is, if you start painting that kind of stuff now, it can only be derivative. Maybe if I do it, it can only be derivative. There's a lot of it about, isn't there? I think unless you can come up with a new language yourself, you know, you can always access your own experiences, can't you? And that is entirely original. It can only be original. Now, this was a place well worth visiting if you're ever going to go to Belgium. It was in, no, sorry, France, the very, very north east of France, so Lille. And this, you can't really tell from the image, but you can see it there, La Piscine, so the swimming pool in Roubaix. So Roubaix is a suburb of Lille, it seems to me. Anyway, it's joined to Lille. And it's not a particularly salubrious suburb either, but there was this place here. It was 1920s Art Deco swimming pool. It's beautiful. They've kept that water feature in the middle, but part of it, see, this used to be water as well, and maybe even this part where the statues are. That all used to be swimming pool, and you can see the old stalls on either side where people used to change, I suppose. And it's one of the best galleries that I've ever been to. It's absolutely wonderful, packed full of artists, most of whom I'd never heard of. There was one Picasso in there, which is coming up. It's not even a painting. And then a whole load of artists, French artists. I think a few of them I'd heard of, but an absolute wealth of wonderful paintings. Don't know who this one is. Can I see? Francis, I can't make that out. Hard or something anyway, but look at that. This is me sort of being fascinated. Oh, sorry. This is me being fascinated by what people make of still lifes. I would never think of to do it like that. Just break everything up into its individual component parts and just make line drawings and fill them in with color. The chutzpah of it all. I know, let's have a look. Where are we? A more classical still life there. Not sure who that's by. I'll never read that. I think I must have had sellotape over the lens or something. That's the Picasso. So it's a platter beaten out in silver. So that's the only very famous artist that I knew that was in there. Another view, those windows at the back, there's one on either end of the pool. Absolutely, in its day, it must have been absolutely stupendous. I mean, it's pretty good now. And some of the paintings that are in that gallery. I love this one because it's kind of these sepia, kind of ochre sienna tones. Almost linear, almost like a book illustration. Yeah. That may be somebody more. Edmund Élysée or something like that. Very, very loose, very impressionist. There's a close-up of it. I love the brushwork. I studied the brushwork, see how the paint was applied. You can see even where parts of the painting where you can just see the, just see the wash coming through. So it's hardly any paint at all. There you go. There's another part of the same painting. This is this to me is 1930s. I can't sort of get the actual. Hang on, let me see if I can get in a little bit. 1930s style, and I see a lot of that, and a huge influence of mine. an English artist called Paul Slater. You know, still around, still painting absolutely amazing paintings in London. There's a pub. There's a, well, in fact, there's a hotel over here, and they had Paul Slater come over to do paintings for the bar. Stupendous stuff. What's it called? Which hotel is it? The Shelburne Hotel. And there's a pub in London, in the East End somewhere. Oh, I wish I could remember. And he's done some work in that. And he used to do regular illustrations for the London Times on Saturday. Always the restaurant review. And that reminds me of his style. And he seems to have occupied a kind of this timeless zone of 1930s looking work. But Slater's work is sort of, he says it's all about sort of hubris and everything. Sort of, he makes people ridiculous. He's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. A beautiful painting, although a very odd scene. You know, it's like this odalisque sort of character in the foreground, and this family sort of all just sitting around doing their family stuff in the background. But I thought it was such a wonderfully painted artist studio. Look, there's his easel. Can I see who the artist is? No. Look at that. Look at the way that figure is rendered. Quite flat brushwork. Amazing, all the same. There's another part of it there. Kind of simply rendered. More lovely work. This is still La Piscine in Roubaix. Now back to Ireland, and this is the weekend that I held in a place near Drogheda, which is East Ireland. Sort of, you're heading towards the border with Northern Ireland, sort of at this spot, a place called Termon Feckin, and Angrianam it's called. So it's just a place where you can stay. There are rooms, and I bring groups there, and we just go out into the countryside to paint. So I just thought I'd say, so this is still, you know, I'm just reviewing the year of art. So that some of my students. Oh, where was this now? I think we've gone back to Lille. That was a window by Jean Cocteau, I think. Yeah, there it is. Look, there's a signature. I've got the photographs out of order. Okay, so a stained glass window. Let me have a look. Jean Cocteau, which is amazing. Let me just go in for a little bit, have a look a bit closer. Just in a little church in Lille. Jean Cocteau must have been from Lille. And it's something that I've never tried, stained glass. And I will do it this year. I will do it this year. I'll take a course. Look at that. Look at that face. Very much in the style of its time. It's amazing how you can recognize the same style in paintings and in any other kind of art form. Now let me go back down here and then cross over here. Jean Cocteau. This was in Lille, but this was not the same place. The other one was Le Palais des Beaux-Arts. This is there's a branch of Le Louvre. Is it Le Louvre? No, not Le Louvre. It was no, it's not the Pompidou Center. Maybe it's Le Louvre. I can't remember. Anyway, but there was this artist that I hadn't heard of either. Yet we all kind of know her if we know Renoir paintings and Gauguin paintings, because the artist appears in a few of them. And her name is Vallotton. What's it? Geez, whenever I'm trying to think of something, the name sort of flies from my head. Let's have a look, see if I can get in there. Hang on, go back. But I thought she was wonderful. What's her name? You can see the Vallotton there. I'll find out in a moment. So that's a nude. She did a lot of nudes, but just really great impressionist paintings. See if I can see her name better there. Suzanne Valadon. That's it. Look at that, 1923. If you look her up, you'll see that she's actually in a paintings done. She's dancing. She has a sort of a male partner she's dancing with, but it's painted by, I think, at least Toulouse-Lautrec and Gauguin and Renoir. But she appears in lots of their paintings just as a model. She was a model, and she brought her drawings in for a few of the artists to look at, and they all kind of were amazed, and they said, "Well, you should be painting," you know. And so that they essentially launched her, or helped her to, I suppose, get the confidence to start her career in painting. She does many paintings, beautiful. And then I had another commission this year, which kind of went a bit awry on me, because they wanted me to paint an abstract, and actually I have to admit that I wasn't prepared for that, because I thought I was going to do something like you saw in the first one with the motorbike and the London scene. So I started looking at abstracts, and this is actually just a painting that's done on the underside of a bridge, which I thought was very nice, because I'm not by nature an abstract artist. I find it hard, and often I feel sort of fraudulent if I do one, because there has to be a journey towards that, and not just launching yourself straight into it. I don't think, anyway. And so I still couldn't escape myself when I did the sketches. That's just a sketch in my sketchbook. And there's another one that I was going to do. It was about the sea, and the people who this commission is for were, you know, they were fond of the sea and surfing and stuff like that. So I did a couple of sketches for it. And I'm not going to show you the final result, because, you know, it's just, I don't feel it's entirely me. But anyway, this is more me standing outside on a lake's edge, painting in acrylics, and passerby kindly took that photograph of me. And by that stage, that would have been what, September, that I had slimmed down quite a bit. I'm pleased to say I needed to lose a bit of weight. And that's what I painted there. But that's in acrylics, okay, because I was on the motorbike. And that's the other thing I did this year, is I got myself a motorbike in order to go on painting trips in the UK and France and things like that. So that's what I expect to do in the coming year, part of my resolution. Here's another one. This is my local town called Rathmines, and just painting the scene there. Standing in the street painting on a very sunny day. Good, talking to the passers-by. Some work from my class. These are the demonstrations that I did over 3 days. There's 1, 2, 3 paintings there, done on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, just for my students. I just lined them up with the actual object and photographed them there. So that was the day where I teach people how to paint silver, which is another hurdle that I feel people, if they get it, it's a great way to teach painting, I think, painting certain objects. Now, this comes to the last commission of the year, which was a mural, which is another thing that's not like me. So I got commissioned to paint a mural. It could have been whatever I liked, but there was this kind of story about modern life and long tail events. I think you do something and it has sort of unintended consequences. And that was the general theme. And I started looking back in my history, but I just painted the thing that bothers me, which is actually being glued to mobile phones and the whole world seemingly being transfixed by technology and glued to their mobile phones. So that's one of the preliminary sketches. That's a much more worked up sketch. So this is kind of what it ended up looking like, more or less. Okay. And I was going to put the Mekon. You see the Mekon there? You're sort of similar generation to me, so you'd remember the Mekon. In the sketch, I had the Mekon in there, but in the end, I didn't put the Mekon in because I just didn't want to have somebody else's work in my own work. And it was a collaboration, this, between me and a Mexican artist who's a very accomplished mural artist, does beautiful work. And so she does the redemption sort of end of it. Oh, look, that's the picture worked up, ready for placement on the wall. So let me just show you her work. See, you can see her part. So she did the angel, kind of this redemptive angel. It was kind of like a ballet dancer angel kind of thing. And she's written lots of, words. What's she written there? Forgiveness, unity, love, hope, and everything. And you can see me, the miserable old git, down there at the bottom, and the kind of stuff that I did. So I do need a kind of redemption there. And the guy there, if you can see there, that chap there, I base it on the guy who commissioned me. And then all the rest of the people. So that's based on my daughter. Obviously, it doesn't look like my daughter, but she posed for me. And I posed myself for this character here. Oh, look, there's the Mekon. That's right. I did put the Mekon on that gable end for a short while. Then I painted it out and I put something else on there. Because it also might have been a copyright issue. You don't know. And something that I learned while doing the mural is you see all those little sort of hieroglyphics on there. You do that instead of doing what do you call it, a grid. Let me see. I hope I'm not boring you, but oh, hello. Yeah, no, I've just come back into to see the stream. I just saw. Oh, Miles, how are you doing? You're late again. No, don't worry about it. And anyone else who's there, please do make a comment. I have to sort of keep going back in between these tabs on Chrome because I'm trying to sort of to explain these images and zoom in and out of them. So you can see that those hieroglyphics, and that's the way mural artists. I only learned that recently. This is the way that mural artists use a grid. Instead of actually squaring up your preparatory work and then squaring up the wall to paint it, the easier way to do it is to do all those hieroglyphics, pack them in, so you do lots of them, in a kind of a color which you can paint over, but you can still see, if you see what I mean. And, oh yeah, hang on. Let me get rid of that. Get that off the screen, hide on screen. Yeah, that's it. Chat again. Yeah, then what you do is you take the you take a photograph on your phone or your tablet or whatever, and then you in software you just meld the two together, and that gives you the way to trace. It's not really tracing, but to actually get your shapes onto the wall. I would never have thought of that in a million years. It was another mural artist told me how to do that, and it saves an awful lot of time. So let me just go into the thing again. So if I move on there, so you can see the thing there. And I had various people coming by me sort of and saying a lot of, I'd say 90% of people were so, oh, that's really great and everything. And they say, what does it mean? So, well, what do you think it means? And they say, well, so everyone's sort of glued to their mobile phones. I said, yeah, you're probably right. You never explain your paintings. It's a bad idea to explain your paintings because you might say the wrong thing. And if you're in the position of trying to sell a painting, you might ruin it for them. And then they walk away, think all disappointed. So it reminds me of my mother. Well, it's nothing to do with your mother. And then they go, that kind of thing. But then I had one guy came by and said, that's very satanic. I said, oh, it probably is then. He says, why didn't you paint something else, not so satanic? What can you do? You can't please everybody, can you? I think he was kind of frightened by it anyway, but there's nothing to do with that. So don't worry. I'm not going down the road of Satanism. So there you can see the size of the thing a bit better. Let's have a look. Yes, you see the ladder there beside it. Yes, that's what I replaced the Mekon with, was an eye. And then I put something else ended up below that. But you can see that at this stage I've already signed it there, and that's the other artist there. Her name is Katrina Rupert. Mexican young woman, and she signed her as Kinmex, so Kinmx. That's her signature. If you want to look her up, she's on Instagram. And then I came back to my studio and I did the whole thing on paper, except of course I'm sitting at my easel in the comfort of my studio, and I don't have to climb a ladder to paint this because it's I don't know, just slightly over A3 in size. So I was able to spend more time on it and get closer in and paint more like I'm used to, and paint more detail in those claustrophobic buildings behind, which is what I wanted to do on a wall, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get that kind of level of. I couldn't get access to it for a start because Katrina was up on the cherry picker and I was down below, and of course the cherry picker was actually right in the middle where I need to do a lot of the stuff. But you know, you live and you learn, don't you? Oh, well, look, the eye is gone on this one, and there's a quote from some journalists. It's all to do with globalism and everything, and you've probably heard it yourselves. You will own nothing and you will be happy. So, which seems to be the tenor of the latest kind of thinking in politics. Anyway, well, you can make of that what you will, and there's a child in there because really, children sort of, oh dear, get out, get off of that. So there you go. So that's that, and then I put that in because I don't know, I put it in. Actually, it was done a few years ago, but it was pointillism, I suppose, because I do try and vary up my styles sometimes. So that is an artist's retreat. If you are artists and you would like to go to a retreat in Ireland, it's a gorgeous place to be. Very wild in the very southwest of Ireland, in a place called Kerry, and it's called Kilrealaig, Cill, and then the new word Rialaig, Kilrealaig, and it's a wonderful place to stay. And see, those are the cottages there. You stay in those cottages. They're old fishermen's cottages. They've been reworked as studios, and it really is gorgeous. And every time I've been there, you know, everyone talks about the weather in Ireland being rotten, and a lot of the time it is. But every time I've gone there, it's been glorious. Even once when I went in November. So the Gulf Stream comes up around there. This is the very southwest, and so maybe that's got something to do with it. And I think that might have been the end of that. Okay, and so I just wanted to do a couple more things with my show on stream. And we've got to hide that one on stream now. That's it. Okay. So I just wanted to show just a few more sketches because that's something else that this year brought. I started during the year a series of sketches, and it was kind of a challenge. And I know some of you have seen them already, so I hope I'm not boring you, but I'm just going to show a few of them. So that, in fact, you probably haven't seen this one. This was in Birmingham while having a coffee, just in the center of Birmingham. So I mean, but these ones these are memories, and I just wanted to sort of just try and jot down some of the characters from my family life from when I was a child, and they're unreliable memories. This is the thing. This fellow, Mr. Mackenzie, and I can't even remember his first name. It's a friend of my parents, and he had this kind of very sort of sunken-cheeked, sort of lugubrious look about him, as you know. So his name Mackenzie was kind of like that. The character in Dad's Army, you know, the Scottish one. We're doomed. Kind of had this kind of look about him all the time, and he was a very slow talker. And anyway, his accent was English. Actually, it's just the name was Scottish, I suppose. And then another fellow, he was a colleague of my dad, and I suppose about the same age. To me, he looked like an old man, but I suppose I was about 10, so everyone looked like an old man to me then. And I just remember coming to the top of the stairs, you know, because we were supposed to be in bed, and they were all having sort of drinks downstairs, and I stood at the top of the stairs just in time to see him, this fella, in a shirt and tie. He didn't have a jacket on like I have here. In shirt and tie, he did a somersault from a standing position. And I've never seen anything like it, like in our hallway, which wasn't the widest of hallways. And he just sort of just braced himself and did the somersault. I was dead impressed by that. He was just a teacher like my dad. My dad probably couldn't even run to the end of the hallway, sort of, let alone do a somersault like that. And the guy didn't look as if he was fit at all. Maybe that's the kind of thing you do when you've had a few whiskies. Some of you have seen these. Let me just grab that and push it up a little bit. Can I do that? No, I can't. Okay, but so that's the street in which I grew up, and your man would have done his somersault in the hallway, sort of just in there somewhere. My mother taking me on a protest march about the pollution on the roads in the 1970 by-election. My grandmother. So all these memories are absolutely unreliable. I love my grandmother dearly, you know, and I can picture her perfectly in my mind, and I can hear what she's saying. But as soon as I try and draw her from my memory, because obviously there aren't that many photographic references around, but it's better from the memory, because as I'm drawing, I'm thinking things that she used to say, the funny things that she would say, and she was very kind-hearted, and so she used to give us sort of a what were they called? Marshmallows. She always had a stack of marshmallows in her room when we were little, and I can see her sitting there in her chair by the fire, which is kind of like her chair, if you know what I mean, and you know, saying her little sayings. And she was from Wexford in the very southeast of Ireland. She had sort of sayings particular to her area, you know, about, shall I tell you a story about a mouse in Gorey? And Gorey is a town in Wexford. And shall I begin it? We'd all say, yeah. That's all that's in it. You know, that kind of thing. Oh, and what else? All the little sort of rhymes and sayings. And she was born in 1890. It's amazing. I know somebody that was born in 1890. Yeah. That's very telling, isn't it? Starting off a painting, sort of doing preparatory sketches. Let me put this out again. That was in fact preparatory sketches, but only for another sketch, which was this one, which is why I was trying to get this this camera to knock off for a second. Let me hide that one on stream. Hide that. Oh, I see. This is it. That's it. Yes. So this scene is from a place we used to live near called Windmill Lane, and it's in Osterley. It runs alongside Osterley Park, and on this side, so towards us of the road, it was a stud farm. We moved a few miles out from Brentford, so working class red brick Victorian house Brentford, to a much leafier place in a place called Osterley. But there was an Arab oil sheikh had a stud farm just over the road here. Maktoum, that was his name. But just we used to sort of travel this road an awful lot, going up and down to where was it, sort of to Hayes and to Southall, off that direction, Osterley that direction, and the Great West Road. But there was this lady who was always sitting on the grass verge there. She had a very red face. So my sister, who's a psychiatric nurse, said it's a possibility, or she felt that she was probably on a certain drug, and it kind of causes this flushing of the face, I suppose. And yeah, so that's that scene. So it's just another memory, and we never knew what became of her. Another memory was the fact that I had only found out after I left, London and came to live in Dublin, that Brentford, where I grew up, was the place where they think that Julius Caesar crossed the Thames. He forded the Thames with his legions on his way north, and he did that just outside Asda. Or is it Morrison's? I can't remember. But so they probably called in to get a few more supplies, some crisps and donuts on the way in 54 BC. Doodles, not necessarily memories. This was my memory of arriving in Dublin, and I bought a Fiat 128 in London, and it had a strange number plate matriculation. It was different from all the other cars around, and I drove it to Ireland with all my goods in the back, and it barely made it there. and discovered that the actual matriculation was from Northern Ireland, which is different. Okay, so there's the boat that I arrive in. And this is my memory of going up this coast road towards Dublin. And I arrived in a place called Grafton Street, which is right in the centre of Dublin. It's the premier shopping street of Ireland. You know, all the very Swiss shops, that's where they'd be. And I ended up driving up it after it had been turned into a pedestrian precinct. And there was me driving up, and this policeman, we call them guards here. This guard sort of stopped me and said, "What are you doing?" And he looked frightened. I just, I'm lost. And I couldn't understand for years why he looked so appalled that I was there. And it was because it was a Northern Ireland number, and he probably thought that I was going to park it there, leave, and blow the thing up. Yeah. So it took me a while to figure that one out. And a memory of my dad sitting, reading his books in the front room. He was a very studious man, sort of fluent in several languages, and he used to read all the time. And we used to annoy him by sort of asking for paper to draw on while he was studying. And me, a cartoonish sketch of me running back from the shops with my mother's cigarettes, which I was sort of tasked with many days. Used to run off to get her a 10 silk cut. And yeah, I kind of regret that really, because it didn't do her any good in the end, did it? And it's just a doodle. I do often do sort of doodles. Now, for want of anything better to do, I'll just start one and do it. And a memory of a guy shooting up heroin in a park when I was very small. I was very small then. I was probably about 4, but I still remember it. And then some other doodles. Just trying to sort of do something a bit different. My doctor in the days gone by in England. Some whimsical drawings. What's happening to men's hair? Man buns. And here's a couple of sketches prior to painting that wall in Dublin. And there is, yes, there's that sketch again. So that's it. So let me change back. Hide on stream. Here I am again. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I've got for you this year. So a review of art stuff that I did this year. If you have any questions, please do ask. Let me see. Let's see if I can get that in. And if you have any questions for me, now is the time. If you want to see my sketching equipment, that's what I bring out with me all the time. An eraser, or a sharpener, I should say, an eraser. And I like those Stettler or Staedtler pencils. They're good. And they remind me of my brother, who was, he first introduced me to those pencils. He used to do fantastic drawings. And in a way, he was my sort of, how would you say, the goal was to get to be as good a draftsperson as he was. So yes, so that's it. I'll end it here. And if you have no questions, all that's left to do is wish you a very happy and a peaceful new year. And I'll see you on the other side. I'm trying to do these once a week, and then also do a kind of I suppose, a more traditional teaching video as well. So let me know what you think. It's really useful for me to hear what you might want me to talk about, or maybe to actually teach, or just to show you, demonstrate. All of those are perfectly good. Tell me what also you think of the lighting, because I've tried to do a bit of lighting sort of arrangements, so that it kind of has a more pleasing effect. And if you've actually been to one of these events before, is it any better this time than it was before? I'm hoping that you'll say that it actually worked a bit better. So do let me know. And you can do that in the comments below. This will go up on YouTube subsequent to this anyway. And I think the comments come up, you know, the ones that you've already done, and then you can comment on the thing as a static video, if you see what I mean. Okay, so listen, Happy New Year, everybody, and I'll see you on the other side. And if you just keep an eye out on my YouTube channel, you'll see when the next one's going to be. And any advice would be very welcome. Okay, so all the best. Bye, guys.